Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Town Waukesha. This is the regularly scheduled Town Board meeting on August 22nd, 2019, and we are beginning at 6:30 p.m. Welcome all. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay, thank you. We have our regular Town Administrator and Clerk Treasurer, Kathy Nicholas, is at a seminar, I believe, this week. So I think she may be watching in on YouTube, as I hope many others are. So in her absence, we've got our Deputy Clerk Treasurer, Terry Sales, with us tonight. Welcome. And first order of business would be for you to do a roll call, please.
Okay. Chairman Fisher?
Here.
Supervisor Durr?
Here.
Supervisor Radke?
Here.
Supervisor Stigler?
Here.
Supervisor Durr?
Here.
Okay, and item 4, can you confirm that indeed we have complied with all of the open meetings laws requirements for publishing the meeting?
Yes, we have.
Okay, thank you very much. Item 5, citizens' comments. Anyone who would like to address the board, please come forward to the microphone. Give us your name and address and get right close into the microphone, please. Good evening.
Good evening. James Hamm. For those of you that don't know me, I'm an attorney. I represent Lilac Acres. And I put together a letter I'd like to file with the town. I don't want to read it all, but I just like to paraphrase it or summarize it. I started working on this project in April, a little after April of 2018, when the application for a conditional use permit was filed. 2 public hearings, the conditional use permit was approved, and thereafter, as a part of it, there were 6 conditions that were imposed. Some of those required submittal of plans to the state and other items of that nature, all of which were accomplished. One of them required approval from the county for road access from Lonsdale. That was done. As a part of that, the access from Lonsdale was transferred to the west side of the property rather than the east, as the site plan had shown. And that necessitated or resulted in having to do a revised landscaping plan. As there were minor changes, and I think if you go back and you look, and I pointed out in my letter, the planner disguised them as slight changes in the architectural plans that were submitted back in May and June 2009, and those were actually approved. It was my opinion that those slight changes didn't require resubmittal of matter to the Plan Commission. All of those plans were submitted to the building inspector, town planner, other town officials. They were all reviewed and approved as that process went along. But the landscaping plan does necessitate the submittal of a revised plan. That hasn't been done yet for the first reason is because your code allows 365 days following occupancy permit within which to complete landscaping. So the idea was to wait until occupancy, revise the plans, and then come in. Now, on the agenda at the Plan Commission last time and on tonight's agenda, you have an item about discussing the status of the conditional use permit. And as I was going through this, I learned, I guess it's better to say, that the town is eliminating all conditional uses. You adopted an ordinance in May, what is it? '0509, I believe, that eliminates these conditional uses. What happens now is what was a conditional use becomes a legal non-conforming use. And the removal of the conditional uses deprives the town of the authority to enforce any conditions of the conditional use permit. There's a case.
I'm going to ask you to pause just for a minute here, Attorney Hammonds. I mean, respectfully, we had a lengthy discussion a couple of months ago or a couple of weeks ago about citizen comments. I think, respectfully, we've kind of wandered beyond what the purpose and intent of citizens' comments are if we're diving deep into the pool of some of these issues. So I'm going to ask, let me just finish. I mean, we'll certainly receive your letter, but I'm going to ask you to wrap it up pretty quickly. I mean,
Okay.
this is not, let me just finish, please. This is not a place in which the board is going to respond to it. When we get to the agenda item, we may have some chat about it, but we've kind of gotten, I think, too far afield at the moment, okay?
Well, let me try to focus then. I
Please.
had a case decided by the Court of Appeals 2011, precise issue. My client, a property owner, had a conditional use to sell cars, limited to 25, all other conditions. The village of Germantown revoked the conditional use permit status. It became a legal non-conforming use. The village sued, tried to enforce the conditional use. It was my position that you can't, because as long as this, here's what the Court of Appeals said.
Again, I'm going to ask you really to wrap it up quickly, because this is not the place and time for you to be making these arguments and comments, so I'm going to cut it off real quick, okay?
All right.
That's meaning no disrespect to you, but this is not the point or place in the meeting for this kind of presentation.
All I'm asking you is to take a look at this case, because you no longer have the authority. And that's what, it's on your agenda to discuss it. Take a look at this, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Name and address, please, close to the microphone.
Well, by the time I give my address, I'll have used half of my time. but-
Well, we'll be a little gracious about that.
Ed Badger, S57, West 22641, Woodside Court. Sheriff's contract, 8D. You had two options, as I read before, one for a year, one for 5 years. I'd like to speak in favor of the 5 years, so take that into consideration. Thank you.
You got done in plenty of time, long address or not, thank you. Who else would like to address the board? Please come forward. Oops. Oh, wait. Is it times two?
Sandy Hamm, West 230, South 3827, Milky Way Road. I gave you a handout there. At a couple of the recent meetings, as you guys go into closed session, there's a question, how many have there been? And I'm not sure that the question is really seeking a numerical answer, but that's what I wanted to provide. It's very easy to go in and search the database for how many there are. And I went back probably 5, 6, 7 years and gave you comparisons for how many there have been. So there's that. On the second page, my concern was at the last meeting, I recorded video up until you went into closed session. And then since there were so many items on closed session, I decided to go home and watch on YouTube, but there was nothing there. And when you go to the YouTube page for the video from the 8th, it ends at about 8:24, 8:26, and there isn't even the discussion from Malarkey on the smart growth plan, and it just ends at an hour and 54 minutes and nothing of when you came back out of closed session. So there's nothing online, nor are there any minutes available yet as to what votes might have been taken when you came back out of closed session. And I would like to urge who's ever responsible for the video, try to make sure that we capture everything that takes place during the meeting. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to follow up, and I did have that discussion briefly with Terry. Maybe you could follow through with Kathy and see if there's any way to recapture what apparently was lost, and
Yep,
have her,
certainly.
you report back to us, please.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Next. We're going to make you give your address too, even though it's long and may cut into your time, and we may have heard it before.
Betty Paget, South 57 West 22641 Woodside Court. I wish to speak about Lilac Acres. They appear to be already in business and have held an event, at least one event there. We drove past and there were many cars in there and cars coming and going. This was on a Friday night.
Thank you. Who else? Okay, if no one comes forward, since we're done with citizens' comments, we'll proceed to reports. Administrative Clerk Treasurer report again. Kathy is not with us tonight. I believe you do have in your packets, all the board members, a written report from her. And in fact, I asked her if we could have her reports in writing going forward. I mean, I know she often does a good job of capturing those events in the minutes, but in as much as we have written reports typically from DPW, Fire Department, and Sheriff, I thought that was an appropriate thing to do, so she has responded to that. She's not here to deliver it, but it's there for everyone's review. So I'll give you a minute just to take a look at that, or are there any questions or comments about her report, or do you have anything more, Terry, to add to that? Or
I don't, just if you
speaks
have
for
any
itself.
questions, of course, you can direct them towards Kathy in the office.
Okay. I don't want to cut people short, but maybe give me a little bit of a nod of the head or something when you spend sufficient time with it and you're ready to move on. Well, you're looking at him, and I think she's done a nice job of summarizing that and putting it into a form that she's given us a lot of information in 2/3 of a page.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Under I, there's been a request for due process here concerning overgrowth and weeds. What does that entail, or what's due process, I guess?
I have a bit of knowledge or awareness on that. I don't have a great deal of knowledge or awareness. I don't know whether either Deputy Clerk Treasurer, Sales, or Attorney Macy, do you have any knowledge of that you want to share?
I'm sorry, which line is it?
Well, it's 1I under administrative. It's been a request for a process hearing concerning overgrowth and weeds.
Oh, what I think she's referring to is that in our ordinance, we have a process whereby people can come in and be heard as to whether or not they are.
Just turn your microphone on.
She's referring to, I believe, and I can look it up quickly, a section of the ordinance dealing with whether when a person is given notice that they may be, that they're in violation, they have a right to a hearing. And the hearing, the due process just means that you're given a fair hearing. You're given a chance to be heard. You have the independent hearing examiners hear the matter and things like that. So that's what I think she's referencing. So it's not on tonight's agenda, but there's been a request, so I assume that we'll see it on a future agenda.
Yeah. Again, I have a bit of knowledge of that, and I know Mr. Borchert does, but I think we'll just kind of move beyond that tonight. There has been, as I understand it, a specific request by a specific individual, but I think we'll just kind of move along on that until that appears on an agenda. Any other questions? Okay, then we will move on after the Administrative Clerk Treasurer's report. DPW report. Jerry Noli. You got a copy of his
Good evening.
written report as well. Good evening.
In August, the DPW worked on culvert installations, roadside mowing. We do a lot of tree and brush work. We brushed out all of Town Line Road. Just completed Milky Way Road. We're on Green Lane now. Cutting that back. Worked on building and grounds maintenance. As always, vehicle and equipment maintenance. Responded to job orders and worked on some sign work. We also had our paving crew was in paving Hazelwood Place. We had to do an emergency cross culvert replacement because the mill went through the culvert, so we did that this Monday. So that's done. So that's scheduled to be paved within the next week or two. September is a lot of the same. Tree and brush work. We got some more culvert installations in Rolling Oaks. Roadside mowing, same thing, vehicle and equipment maintenance. After the paving's done, we've got some shoulder work that needs to be done. respond to resident concerns, job orders and whatnot. That's my report.
Okay, hang on for questions. Any questions, comments, questions?
Just a comment, Mr. Chairman. I did get a call from a resident on my way here tonight about Green Lane. He just made a comment that there was a lot of brush and debris on the roadway, and would just ask that it does get cleaned up.
Started on that today.
Yep.
Trees.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Thank you very much. Item 6C, Fire Department report. Chief Buchholz, come on up.
July run summary is 41 ambulance requests, 2 motor vehicle accidents, 16 fire responses. We gave mutual aid 9 times, we received mutual aid 13. We had 2 people leave the department in July, and we took on and started 7 new members in July. We have currently 39 active members, 1 person on leave of absence, 1 secretary treasurer. We currently have no high school cadets, but interviews were conducted today with cadets, so we hopefully are going to pick up a couple in the next couple of weeks here. And then 2019 fire inspections are continuing.
Okay, questions on the fire department report from Chief Buchholz?
Just a comment again. So 3 left and 7 came on. That's pretty remarkable.
And 2 left, 7 came on.
2 left and 7 came on.
That's still remarkable,
Very
right?
remarkable. Any idea what led to the surge?
We have 3 of those members were our high school cadets from this past year, and 3 candidates we picked up through our county fair event.
Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, next item, we're at the Sheriff's Department report. While someone's coming forward, I'm going to express a little concern. We had 1 report given by somebody who wasn't here, and we had 2 by single individuals. It looks like the Sheriff's Department is 3 strong. You can, Captain Moonen, certainly give your report, maybe even acknowledge those others who are here with you. We see some familiar faces.
All right. Captain Mark Moonen. I got Lieutenant Chad Niles, and who also is a town resident, and your contract deputy, Allie Moose.
Welcome. Thank you. Go ahead with your report.
All right, for July, and one thing to note, the calls are at 87 for the month for the 22 contracts that were covered. To note, this is up 19 from the previous month, so we did have a surge in calls just with the more people out in the public and utilizing the town with better weather. We did assist the fire department 13 times, which was increased by 5 from the previous month. We also completed 10 traffic stops and 2 accident investigations. A total of 11 citations were issued. Some of our contacts with citizens this month were July 20th. We had the Hamm Avenue block party. I know the fire department was also out there. Deputy Moose handed out information on cameras as well as things for citizens to keep their homes safe in the neighborhood. It was cut short due to the bad weather that blew through, but we did return and helped pick up some tents afterwards. Traffic enforcement continued as in previous months with construction-related complaints. Green Country, Merrill Hills Road, Ridge Road, and Town Line received complaints and had extra enforcements completed on them. Just some things to note, we do have a second meeting coming up August on the 28th at 7 p.m. and that'll be here at Town Hall for the Hamm Avenue. They've been organizing block or neighborhood watch. Some citizens might have seen that on Town Line Road at Pheasant Run, there was a speed sign that was displayed there. And what that's doing is collecting traffic volumes as well as speed. So hopefully the next month we'll be able to report on what the findings are for that. Questions from the board?
Any questions? And in sincerity, thank you for being here 3 strong. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Chairman.
Great, thank you. Item 7A, minutes of the meeting of July 25th. You have those in your packets. Any comments on those corrections? When you're prepared, we can take action on that.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion we approve the minutes of July 25th, 2019.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that.
Motion by Supervisor Radke, seconded by Supervisor Stigler to approve the minutes of the meeting of July 25th, 2019. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously.